Hey guys, long time no see, but I've been busy with life and work, and it's getting to the holiday season, so I'm working really strange hours, waking up at 5 in the morning, working till midnight. That's retail for you. So I haven't had a lot of time for movies, and there hasn't been a lot of movies to see. But I finally got around to seeing Inception. I didn't wait for the Netflix release. I just went to Blockbuster, good old Blockbuster, and rented it. And so I've watched it. I've had some time to digest it, like an hour or so when I did have a conversation with some people about it. So I think my opinion of it is kind of formed, and it is a very good movie. I didn't love it as much as most people seem to go for it, but I get why people liked it because it's original and it's smart, and you don't get that a lot. But in case you don't know, there's nothing basic about this movie. It's kind of like a maze. But the idea of it is that the government invented a way for you to go into other people's dreams. And Leonardo DiCaprio he's actually a corporate spy. And he goes into people's dreams to extract information. But he gets an offer he can't refuse. And it's this, I want to say it's like an oil guy, some energy company. This guy wants him to go into his rival, like his competitor, his biggest competitor, into his competitor's son, who's going to inherit the business soon once the father, the guy that owns the company, dies. See, it's already getting complicated. But he wants him to go into his rival's, the kid the heir to his rival. He wants him to go into his dream, and instead of extract information, he wants to plant an idea. And the idea that he wants to destroy his father's business, so that will wipe out his competitor. That's the basic idea of it. And you know, kind of like the first half is them setting up the plan, how they're going to do it, and the why. There's a reason why Leonardo DiCaprio agrees to do it, and it's basically so that he could get back in the U.S. because he has murder charges on him, and this oil tycoon or whatever says he can make him go away if he does this job for him. So as you can tell, it's already it's pretty complex, and you got to pay attention. But if you pay attention, it's not impossible to follow. It has a very clear plot. And so the first half is them planning how they're gonna get into this guy's head, and how they're gonna plant this idea that he wants to destroy his dad's business. And the second half is the dream, like them going into his dream and like acting out their plan. And it's a bit long. The dream does take up at least the whole second half of the movie, and the movie is like 2.5 hours long. And that's one of the problems. That's one of the things like I didn't love it as much because it just feels a little bloated on the second half. I found myself not caring at parts that were supposed to be the most entertaining, like the action parts. It's a little bloated with action. And the action is different and involves like gravity shifting and stuff. And it's always working on multiple levels. Um, but the action kind of there was a little too much of it, and it was a little boring. There's a little too many steps involved in getting to where we had to go. And one of the things I didn't one of the things that bugged me is that they're dealing with dreams, and all the action in the dreams is very grounded in reality and in physics, as I just learned in a very lengthy discussion. But there's fights. Like you've seen the fight in the trailer where they're like in a hotel room hallway and it's spinning basically on them. They're like going onto the walls, going onto the ceiling, and there's stuff like that. But too much of it is just kind of like routine shootouts and like chases and stuff that really, I mean, they're shot well, but they're not very exciting. and they're kind of secondary to, like, you care more about what's actually going on than the action. And I don't know. To me, I just thought, being that it takes place in, like, the whole second half of the movie takes place in a dream, that there was an opportunity there to just be completely over the top with the action and have fun with it. There's one point where these two guys are like fist fighting in the snow, and I'm like, if this was a dream, there's a possibility that, like, my fist would turn into a huge cartoon fist and he'd just be like, and uppercut the guy, and, like, they could have done stuff like that a little more inventive than just sticking to, like, a ground set of rules that, like, the dreams are just too well put together, like, too coherent. Dreams aren't like that. There's weird things that happen here and there, but I would have liked more of that. Or, like, someone shoots you with a bullet and you're like, bam, you can block it, or whatever. I mean, it was just too. But there's lots of great ideas in this movie, like the fact that, like, if you get hurt in a dream, it still hurts. So yeah, you don't really have to care about dying, although they do at some point. But initially, you don't really have to care about dying. But, getting hurt, well, that still matters in a dream because the hurt is all in the mind, as they say. There's lots of things like that, or like the idea that dreams, like, an hour in a dream is like 5 minutes of you actually sleeping, and they use that to great effect in the movie. And it's like, the deeper you get into a dream, like the deeper levels you get in the dream, the more, like, you could have 5 minutes eventually be 50 years. Lots of cool ideas, very smart like that. Um, and then you have the ending, which uh, I think is something that people, like, really latched onto as, like, a discussion point and as a point of, like, oh, what the fuck happened. And I know, like, it did. I just had like at least an hour discussion on this on Tiny Chat with some of my buddies, and we were arguing about it and going back and forth, and, like, that's good. That's always good. But it's a sign. It's a sign of the movie did what it wanted to do in a way. But at the same time, I think people's reaction to the ending is a little overblown. I don't want to give it away, but how do I say this without ruining anything? I think that the ending. I think the ending is pretty clear on what happens. And I think if you want to draw a different conclusion, it's because you want to draw that, but there's not really evidence of this opposite conclusion. And I think it is. I think it's clear what happens, but there is a little bit of ambiguity. It kind of movie cuts to the credits in the middle of something happening, but that's only to say that what is happening is not as important as what's happening to the character, to Leonardo DiCaprio's character. His story is complete, and I think Christopher Nolan is kind of forcing the audience to figure it out for themselves a little bit, but then to come to the same conclusion as the character, that it doesn't matter what is happening so much, that as much as Leonardo, his character's happy. God, if that makes any sense. I'm totally fucking this up, but I think it's a cool little ending. That, I mean, it's a little clever, but then the whole movie is, you know, the whole movie is just a little bit, like, it's very brainy, but it's a good movie. Um, it's worth watching just because it's an original idea and it's a story you haven't seen a bunch of times. And of course, Christopher Nolan's writing is as good as ever. His directing is good. Once again, I think he kind of doesn't really bring a lot of excitement to the action scenes, but they're not the highlight. But all the actors are good. Like, some of them don't have too much to do, like Joseph Gordon-Levitt as his assistant. It doesn't. They don't give him much to say or do. But Leonardo DiCaprio, he delivers as he always does, and he was really good in it. Um, Overall, it's a good movie. It's worth watching. Like I didn't enjoy it quite as much um, as The Dark Knight by Christopher Nolan, or some of like just. I think I like most other Christopher Nolan movies more because there's just a little more like simplicity to them. They're always complex in a way, but like I like Memento more, but it was still very grounded in like a reality. And Dark Knight is just more to the point and direct. It has a more of a like an emotional core. But definitely see this, give it a shot. Most people have seen this already, but a good movie. You know, Christopher Nolan continues. I think he has the best track record of any filmmaker over the last decade, and I think he continues it here. I didn't love it as much as as I already said, I didn't love it as much as some people, but I liked it a lot, and I thought it was worth seeing. I thought it was one of the best movies of the year. At the same time, I think it was a shitty year for movies, and I do have other movies that I think are better that I've seen this year. I actually liked Frozen more than I enjoyed Inception, which might sound weird, but I really loved Frozen. Right now, it's sitting there as my favorite, but I have not seen The Social Network and a bunch of other stuff. But in the end, I'd say this is a good 4 out of 5 stars. I could see higher scores, but I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 stars. If there's anything I forgot to talk about, I'm sure there is, but we'll leave it at that for tonight. Thanks for watching, guys.